Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I will be talking about the manuscript submission process. So, you would have come across while submitting two types of article categories while submitting. One is the subscription and the other one is the open access. So today we'll be discussing what is the difference between these two. For a subscription article, you don't have to make any payment at the time of submission. Once it's accepted, it will get published, and once it's published, the only difference between a subscription and an open access article is it's not available to everyone in full form, in the sense like you cannot read the entire article. That is, you can only read the snippets. So now the concern is, how will you get access to that article? No problem. For a subscription article, you can definitely reach out to the corresponding author whose email is given in the research article. So you can write to him or her that, can you give me or share the full paper with me? Or there is another scenario. Some of the universities have already purchased or have purchased the subscription of that particular publication house, maybe for Cambridge or maybe for BMC Springer. So all the articles under Springer or Cambridge are available to the students and staff of that particular university who have already signed the bond with that particular publication house. But for subscription, you remember, you do not pay a single penny. Versus open access. What happens in open access? In open access, while submitting, you will be asked not to pay, but they will ask you for confirmation whether you are ready to pay the APC. That is the article processing charges, or also known as article processing fees. That could range from journal to journal. It could be like 2,000 USD, 3,000 USD, 4,000 USD. So once your article is accepted, the journal will come back to you and ask you for the payment. Sometimes these payments are covered by the research grants. Let's say you've applied for a research grant and you've got a grant, and that grant says whatever publication costs are there, we will be covering through the grant. That's one case. The other case could be that the authors themselves pay a publication fee. Third is, you can ask the university. Many universities do pay their faculties and students for the publication fee. And the last scenario is, you can ask for a full waiver or some discounts. Till date, my experience has been that I've asked for requested for a waiver, and I have been given full waiver of my APC, that is 100% waiver. I know some of my friends and colleagues who did not get a full waiver, but they got an 80% waiver, 50% waiver, depending on the journal type. I'll also show you an example how a waiver letter looks like, so that you also in future can apply for a waiver through your university to that particular journal. One more thing you must note, generally some journals directly give a waiver for students and faculty based in lower income countries, including Bangladesh, Nepal, Sri Lanka and some African countries. So there is no need to apply even for a waiver. But students based in India or faculty based in India can definitely apply for a waiver. In my next slide, I'm going to show you the waiver letter. If you want, I'll just read it to you. Neha Rathi is a Malviya postdoctoral fellow at Banaras Hindu University since March 2021. She does not have funds to pay the article processing charges. The university is a public funded university, and therefore the university does not have provision to support processing fees for publication. Further, the fellowship and research grant received by the postdoctoral fellows are rather modest. Finally, post-COVID, the traditional source of funding, postdoctoral fellows and participation in international conferences have become severely restricted. Therefore, I would like to endorse the request of a full waiver of the processing fees and would appreciate a sympathetic consideration. So this letter is generally given by one of the head of the institutions, maybe a director or the dean or a coordinator, and you can submit this letter while requesting for a waiver, and I would say 99% you will get a waiver, because I have got it 100% always for a open access. Now, when I was talking about open access, I would also want to make clarify one thing. Once the open access article is published, you will be able to see the entire article. Did you get it? Entire article, you will be able to read it. So you don't have to write to the corresponding author that, please send me the full article. So one advantage of publishing in open access is that the chances is you will get more citations, because sometimes you are lazy to contact a corresponding author. So in that case, what happens is you easily, like the open access articles have more chances of getting cited, and that will improve your, both your H index as well as your I-10, index. Moving on to the next slide. Now, what happens once the manuscript has been submitted? Your manuscript is considered by an editorial board, right? So the editorial board may consist of a deputy editor, associate editor, editor-in-chief, depending on that. Got it? Now, once it goes to the editor, of course, I'll now explain to you how it is. Hopefully, if it's not test rejected, let's say the editor read your research article, got it? So once the editor read it, if he or she thinks whether it should go for peer review, that's the time, the first decision is taken. If the editor feels no, the article is not suitable for that particular journal, so automatically it gets rejected by him or her. Now this time it varies. How it varies, some journals, in 1 week they do the rejection, some may take 1 month. It depends from journal to journal. So that is known as a test reject. That means it's not being sent to the peer reviewers, it's directly rejected by the editor. Let's say if it is not rejected by the editorial board, that is either the deputy editor or the associate editor or the editor-in-chief, then the editor will allocate 2 or more peers, that is reviewers, academic peers. So sometimes while submitting, there are journals which will ask you to list some of the potential reviewers whom you would like to invite to review a manuscript. You can definitely give suggestions if it's asked for in your cover letter or maybe in the journal tab when you're submitting. But let me tell you, it's not necessary that those reviewers are only picked. There is a possibility that they can be picked by the editorial board. That's why it's written. However, it's not necessary that the suggested reviewers will be invited for peer review, who are experts in your field of research. Now, this review process can take 3 to 6 months. I'm just talking about the first review. It's the first review. Okay, 3 to 6 months is general. In some cases, it may also go to 9 months to 12 months. Okay, now, next slide, I will be explaining to you about the different types of peer review. While submitting, when you are reading about, submission guidelines, you may have come across this term that this journal adopts a single blind peer review policy, or this journal adopts a double blind peer review policy, and some may say it's an open peer review. Now, what are the difference between the three? In a single blind peer review, you must understand that the reviewer will know the identity of the authors. However, the authors will not know the identity of the reviewers. I'll give you one example which journal follows it. It's the Appetite. I frequently submit to Appetite. So in Appetite, and because whenever I review, I know it is whose article because I know the authors, right? Similarly, when I submit, the reviewers will know that I have submitted, but I will not know who has reviewed my article. So that is known as a single blind peer review. Now, what happens in double blind? A double blind peer review classic example is a British food journal. And I think even Public Health Nutrition has a double blind peer review, if I'm not wrong. In double blind, neither the reviewer nor the submitting authors will have any idea about the either party. So I will also, if I'm submitting, I will also not know what's the identity of my reviewer, like who is reviewing it, and neither my reviewer will know that I have submitted the manuscript. What happens in open peer review? So in open peer review, some journals do follow. That's like I think some of the BMC series do follow. As far as you know, Frontiers also in 99% cases follow. That is, the authors will know who has reviewed your article, and even the authors would know who has reviewed, and similarly the reviewers will definitely know that who have submitted the article, that particular article. So this is the difference between 3 peer reviews. Accordingly, you have to tweak your manuscript, because if it's double blind, you cannot give any identification. You cannot mention the name of your university, you cannot mention the author, so everything is like there. You have to delete them, in the sense like once it's accepted, you can get everything in, so not a problem. In single blind, you can submit as it is with your identity, it's not a problem. In open peer review, definitely it's the same. But in double blind, you just have to be very careful while submitting that no identification has been shared anywhere within the manuscript, whether it's the university or even the ethics committee. Let's say it's the Banaras Hindu University ethics committee. So you can just write institutional ethics committee, and later on you can add the Banaras Hindu University once it's accepted. Now, moving on to my next slide. Very important, because once you have submitted, what are the possible outcomes of submission? The first category, which is very, very rare. At least I'm telling you, I haven't come across this decision till date. At least in my span of last 10 years of academic writing, I've never come across this. And yeah, so it is accept publication without amendments. Very, very rare, right? Although it is an ideal outcome. Who would like to do the corrections? You think that you have submitted the best work and you just want it to be accepted. But I'm sorry, I have never seen it, and I also never heard of such an outcome. Next is accept publication with editorial modification. Again, a very, very rare phenomena. I'm still to witness this. It's like the editor has just written to me back that, okay, here are your problems. If you could fix it, I'm happy to accept it. Now, it has never happened. It has never happened, at least with me again. And again, as I said, very rare phenomena. I've not heard even a similar thing from any of my colleagues so far. Yes, the third one, quite common, and I have faced this, so I'm quite aware of it. It is accept publication with major or minor revision, as suggested by reviewers as well as the editor who is handling that particular paper. And this is generally a common favorable outcome which everybody wants. Of course, everybody wants minor revision. Nobody wants major revision. But yes, either of the case, I would be happy to get one of them. The last one, nobody wants that. That's either test reject, which I just mentioned. It's rejected directly by the editor, like it definitely doesn't enter the peer review cycle, or it's rejected after peer review. So yeah, I have faced it. It's not that I've not faced it, but I faced it generally in the early stage of my career, maybe in first 3 years to 5 years of my writing. Generally in the first 3 years when I was a PhD scholar. But yeah, I think after that, it's been rare for me for getting a rejection. Perhaps the most common outcome, nevertheless, it could be quite disappointing. Definitely, you put in so much of hard work into your manuscript, and then you see that it gets rejected. Nobody would like it. But yes, and that takes me to my final slide for today's, topic. I have been rejected. I am not worthy. Never think so. Don't take this as a sign of your worth as a scholar. If it gets, rejected after peer review, make judicious use of the referee report so that you can polish your work and submit to another journal. And sometimes that similar journal can also can ask you to submit it again, as a fresh paper. Perhaps it's better suited to another journal. Yes, this has happened to me. I'll share you one example. It was way back in 2018. I was trying to submit a paper. I would not say it's one of my best papers, but it was not a bad paper too. It was somewhere in the middle. I had submitted to 6 journals, and it was not getting reviewed. So, it was always getting test rejected. And by then, I think I had still, published around 6 to 7 articles and in almost in top tier category like the Q1 and the Q2s. So I was not sure what was going wrong. So I had, a word with my supervisor that time, my doctoral supervisor. So he said that, maybe we are targeting a wrong journal. He said, okay, definitely. Then I submitted to it was a Q3 when I submitted 7 times. Luckily it went through and I just got minor revision. Perhaps maybe so what I, learned from that experience was maybe my article was not very well written, maybe not for a standard for Q2 or Q1, or maybe the other case could be that I was not targeting the right journal, because when I got the revision, it was just minor revision. So it was a well-written article accordingly. So sometimes, don't think that if you've got rejected that, it's wrong. Of course, as we say, a cat has 9 lives. You can definitely try it for 9 times, 9 different journals, but if it still doesn't get through. So there are 2 choices what you can do. Either throw it in the dustbin or of course, I will not recommend the first one. The second option is better. Revisit it, rewrite it maybe again, and think what is wrong there. Share it with your peers, whom you trust, and a fresh pair of eyes will definitely can do some magic. Ask them that what's the problem, and definitely you can resubmit to another journal. So that's why always resubmit. Thank you for today, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye. Take care, everyone.